Happening now on Grid Tonight. Kalle Rovanperä is leaving World Rally Championship for Super Formula in 2026. Can a young rally racing star make a successful switch to an entirely different discipline of racing in the open wheel world? Spire Motorsports and Justin Haley are parting ways at the end of the year. What's next for Haley's NASCAR career? Mick Schumacher had a successful first time testing in IndyCar. What did he have to say about his prospects of moving to America in 2026? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert, and with me are Joshua Birch from JV Motorsports and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance. And as we encourage everyone to interact with us in the chat, support us through Super Chat, and visit gridnetworktv.com for our latest content. And during our Hots and Knots segment in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see a QR code where you can visit gridnetworktv.com, and we'll have that on Hots and Knots from here on out. And Josh, take it away with our top story this evening. I have quite a diverse lineup of stories to discuss tonight.
We really have. It's been a weird week, hasn't it, for motorsport news, which I think is perfect for a show like this to dive into. So once again, good evening, Kobe. Good evening, Matt. Good evening, everybody. Let's get straight into it. So, in a move that has stunned the motorsports world, towards the end of last week, the two-time World Rally Champion Kalle Rovanperä has announced his retirement from rally racing. At age 25, Rovanperä has accomplished so much during his 6 years in World Rally Championships top category. In 2020, Toyota Gazoo Racing WRT promoted him to the highest level of rally racing in the world at the age of only 19. His rookie season started off with the Finnish driver becoming the youngest podium finisher in WRC history, with a third-place result at Rally Sweden in only his second career start. In 2021, he got his first career win at Rally Estonia to become the youngest winner in WRC history. Then the 2022 and 2023 seasons resulted in WRC titles, as Rovanperä looked like someone who could dominate rally racing for a long, long time, potentially becoming the next Sebastian Ogier. But his 2022 championship saw Rovanperä become the youngest WRC champion in history. After back-to-back titles, he scaled back his schedule to part-time in 2024 before returning to full-time WRC competition this year in 2025. With 3 rallies to go this year, the 17-time WRC race winner is currently third in the championship behind Ogier and Elfyn Evans. Now, graphic courtesy here, Toyota Gazoo Racing. Rovanperä has released a statement, which I'm going to have to go into full screen here for a second to read, saying, "Dear Rally community, I'm writing to let you know that I've decided to retire from the World Rally Championship. This decision wasn't easy, but I know it's the right one for me to pursue my other dreams in motorsports. I fell in love with rally as a kid and was fortunate to grow up surrounded by legends and idols with the chance to start driving at a very young age. My dream back then was to become a WRC driver, win a rally, and one day become a world champion. I'm very proud to have achieved those goals. This sport has shaped me and my skills in countless ways, and I step away from it with deep gratitude. I want to give a special thank you to my trusted co-driver, Johnny, whose relentless work and friendship have been a vital part of our success. To my family, my personal team and partners, thank you for standing by me over the past decade. We have worked hard together to reach the top. This would not have been possible without your commitment and support. And to my first co-driver, Risto, who guided and taught me when I was just a kid, trusting me to drive flat out through the forests, I will always be grateful. I want to thank every team that has given us the opportunity and everyone who has worked with us along the way, especially everyone at TGR, WRT. Thank you for your tireless work, for believing even when things didn't go as planned, and for sharing the joy when they did. We have achieved great things together, and there is still so much to fight for in 2025. I will give my all for the rest of the season to help secure the Manufacturers' Championship and to fight for the driver's title. And most importantly, to you, my fans, thank you for your constant support and huge emotions. Seeing and feeling your passion and love has been simply unforgettable. I hope to see as many of you at the last rallies and support us until the very end. More news soon. And starting with you, Kobe, on this one, are you surprised that Rovanperä is stepping away from WRC at such a young age? And what do you think of the short career he's had?
Well, when we got this news, I think it was like a few hours after our show. Actually, it was during the wee hours of Thursday morning here on the East Coast. I was about to go to bed, and then I saw this bombshell that dropped that Kalle Rovanperä is going to retire from World Rally Championship. I was really surprised by this. We saw him, drop his schedule before because he first few years of his career he was full time, and then 2024, as you mentioned, Josh, he decided to scale down to a part-time schedule because it really seemed like he was dealing with some possible issues with burnout, with all the preparation and stuff it takes to compete in these World Rally Championship events. And, he just wanted some more time for himself to have a better balance when it comes to his racing career and extracurriculars outside of racing. So that was totally understandable, although it was a little surprising that someone so young could get burned out. I would have understood it more if he would have been maybe 35, 36 years old and, just wanted to scale back. But to be in his early 20s, scale down like that and, try to pursue some other things in racing, I was a little surprised by that. And then come back in 2025 full time this year. I was thinking, yeah, he had his year to rest for the most part. And competing in rallies that he wanted to, and now he can go out there and lock back in for a long time. But turns out that long time turned into 1 year because it looks like he's leaving the World Rally Championship, at least for now. I know he's called this a retirement from WRC. I know we're going to talk about his next adventure in just a little while, but instead of saying, that this is a permanent retirement, if his next adventure doesn't go as well, maybe that this is a retirement for now, and maybe we see him back in WRC in the future. But 25 years old now to have won 17 rallies, two championships, and to be breaking all the history. You listed his accomplishments, Josh, being the youngest to do this and the youngest to do that. Absolutely incredible. And he very well could have, gone on to be one of the next Sebastian Ogiers if he continued to compete in the World Rally Championship. But even if he never makes another start in this series, I think he has a lot to be proud of because by age 25, not a lot of rally drivers can say they've done all of the things that he's done and broken all of these records. So I think at the end of the day, if you're Kalle Rovanperä, this is exactly what he wanted to do when he was a kid, and he's achieved it and, checked off every box. And I think he doesn't have anything to be ashamed of. It's unfortunate that WRC is going to be losing one of his young stars, but they can certainly be proud that they got to have him in this series and accomplish so many things.
Yeah, Kobe, like you, I was stunned Thursday morning waking up. I think it was your message into our chat that alerted me to the news. Or getting ready to leave the house on Thursday morning. It's like, whoa, okay, that's come from left field. Because as you both kind of mentioned there, he took a hiatus in 2024. He only started 7 rounds last year, was off doing some drifting, and he's been in Carrera Cup Benelux, and he's done Porsche Carrera Cup Italia as well last year, amongst some other bits and pieces. He was doing some things for fun. But of the 7 rounds he started last year, he won 4 of them. And one of them, he came in to replace Sebastian Ogier at late notice after he had a crash on the recce in Latvia last year, if you remember, at the beginning of that week. And Rovanperä comes in late notice, completely cold, and ends up winning the event. He will go down as one of the stars of this era, obviously, of WRC. And the World Rally Championship is not in the same place it was in the late 90s, early noughties. That is for sure. That, Loeb disappearing out of the sport, Ogier at the end of his tenure, although he could still win a championship again this year, the way things have panned out. Rovanperä was going to be the next big, bright, shining light. And for the sort of Formula One aficionados amongst us, this is a bit like Max Verstappen quitting Red Bull. Kalle, famous father, Harry, had 1 WRC win to his career, driving a Peugeot 206 from memory. I think that was a Rally Finland off the top of my head, back in the day. And in comes this kid that's been driving around the Rovanperä farm since he was 5, coming to WRC, dominated WRC 2 in 2019. As Josh, as you mentioned, in his second ever event, he was on the podium in Rally Sweden back in 2020, goes on to win 2 championships. End of 23 going into 24, he'd won those 2 titles, he'd won multiple events. He kind of had done everything. Then he takes the break, as I mentioned, still was winning every time he pretty much got in the car. The only one thing he hadn't done, I think this kind of is key in this whole story, the only thing he had not done until this summer was win his home event. And he won Rally Finland this summer. the first thing to win in front of the home fans for many, many years. A bit of a monkey on his back the last couple of years. He had crashes winning positions or mechanicals and hadn't got the job done. But he won it this year. And the travel of WRC, they don't have as many rounds, of course, as something like Formula One or MotoGP. But their event is a whole week. It's not just the weekend of the actual action. It's the media stuff and the wrecking of the stages and driving through them and making sure the pace notes. It's a long week of it, of the whole every event. That took its toll, I'm sure, on him, and that's one of the reasons why he stepped away to scale it back last year. But he's come back. He's won 2 events this year. And I think, he's only 25. He's a double champion and a multiple rally winner. And he's still got plenty of life and career in front of him with the backing of, the world's biggest car maker, Toyota, to go, do you want to go and try something new? Should we have a go? Yeah, okay, let's give it a shot. He's talented enough that he can make this work. I don't think there's many other people that will be able to switch pathway like this at this moment in time in sort of world motorsport. We kind of saw it with Scott McLaughlin. Me and Kobe were talking about this before we went on the air. Scotty Mack deciding to up sticks from Australia, New Zealand, and go to IndyCar, and what a job he's done. You think of Rossi, ended his bike career, has gone into car racing and done a great job. There isn't many people like this at the moment in world motorsport. Kyle Larson, of course, doing Indy 500, and it's not gone so well, but it's kind of along the same lines. Rovanperä will, if he gets in and he's fast, he's also already driven a Red Bull Formula One car in a private test at the Red Bull Ring. I'm not sure if that was last year or this, but he's had some single seater experience to some degree already. Okay, it was only testing; it's very different. Super Formula, it's going to be eye-opening for him. It's going to be a great thing to watch, the story to follow throughout next season, and then where that goes from there, which Josh, you're going to touch on next.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's going to continue in his new adventures as well, because it is a super rare move that he's leaving behind the World Rally Championship, the comfort of his Toyota GR Yaris R1 rally cars you've been talking about. But he is, as you said, trading in for a single-seater. He's switching over to open-wheel racing, as he will have a chance to continue to be supported by Toyota Gazoo Racing, but by competing in the Super Formula in Japan in 2026. Now, if you're not familiar with it as well, the Japanese open-wheel racing series is highly regarded as one of the next best series to complete before going anywhere near Formula One. In the open world, it's alongside IndyCar and Formula E. Now, if Rovanperä does well in Super Formula, Toyota could move him to Formula 2 as early as 2027, and then he'll be on the road to F1. Now, you don't see someone transition from rally racing to open wheel every day, which makes this career move even more interesting, as Matt has been pointing out. Now, we've seen some high-profile driver switches, discipline. Sometimes it's been before as well, with one of the most successful in recent memory being Scott McLaughlin leaving supercars and going to IndyCar. I would even argue as well, we've seen SVG leave supercars and go over to NASCAR. He's dominated on road courses as well, and he's getting better week in, week out on ovals. But while competing in Super Formula and F2 might be a huge challenge for Rovanperä, many are optimistic that he's up for the challenge, as people have claimed him as Toyota's Max Verstappen, given his natural talent behind the wheel. Now, in a press release, Rovanperä said that he understands that he's jumping into the deep end, coming from a rally racing background, but believes that they have a good plan in place for his development in open wheel racing. Toyota Gazoo Racing WRT team principal Jari Maittila-Rinta as well said that Toyota believes in helping drivers achieve their dreams and believes that a few manufacturers could offer a driver of Rovanperä's caliber an opportunity like this. Rovanperä has dreamed of making it to World Rally Championship, winning a rally, and to become a World Rally champion. He's checked off every single box on his list. Now, his next dream is to make an unprecedented leap from rally racing to the pinnacle of motorsport. So, Matt, circling back to you on this one, how confident do you feel of Rovanperä's abilities to make a successful switch to open wheel racing? And what are the types of challenges that he's going to see next year in Super Formula?
Well, I mean, he'll have no co-driver sat alongside him, won't he? In a single seat, so that would be a big change for him. Of course, he's had some Porsche racing and stuff over the last couple of years, as I've mentioned already, so it's not going to be a huge shock. He's going to have to learn the car. He's going to have to learn the people. I'm not sure what his Japanese generally is like, but he's going to have to learn a whole new team, all the tracks, all the other drivers, how to race side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel against other drivers at places like Suzuka, Autopolis, Fuji, Okayama, Suzuka. It's a huge undertaking that he's going to go on and do. And it's just, as you said, we've seen car guys go to bike guys go to cars quite often down the years of motorsport. Rossi, we mentioned, Mike Hailwood, Aaron Slight. There's been others down through the years that have gone and done it for various sort of touring cars, and even obviously with Mike Hailwood Formula One and things like that. But there just isn't these kind of guys at the moment that go and often do these weird and wacky things and make it successful. Me and Kobe were talking before, Ogier kind of tried to do this a couple of years back with Toyota with their LMP program, sort of pre-COVID times, and it didn't really work out. Remember, Sebastian Loeb tested a GP2 car back in the late noughties when he was maybe thinking about going down the Formula One route, and it didn't quite happen for him, but he did a very decent job in touring cars with Citroën and the World Endurance Championship, as it was back then, the European Le Mans Series with Peugeot in the 908. So it's been done before to that degree, but as you said, Josh, no one just going down the single-seater route. What a mountain he's got to climb if he wants to decide to go, okay, I've done the rallying thing, now we're going to go to Formula One. As I said, it's going to be what a thing to watch and witness over the next couple of years. Also, wouldn't probably put it past Toyota putting him in some Super GT races next year in Japan, because we know a lot of the Super GT guys do Super Formula as well and sort of dovetail those two series together. They very rarely clash. They're often put apart for reasons of this kind of thing. So that would be cool to see him do some GT stuff as well, and that's more race learning rather than rally learning, which of course he can do that with his eyes closed, but it's the race learning that he needs to do and all the track learning and that kind of thing. But then let's say this Super Formula thing does go as planned and he ends up doing really well, and Toyota, who we know have got some fingers in pies in Formula One with Haas, put him into a Formula 2 car. Then it's again a new car, all these new tracks, another championship. It's just, something we've not seen like this, and it's just very exciting to see how it'll pan out.
Yeah, Matt, really excited to see how this is going to pan out for Kalle Rovanperä. I'm always excited to see drivers switching disciplines, and hopefully, since, as Josh said, a lot of people consider Rovanperä the Toyota's version of Max Verstappen, and if he can live up to those expectations, wow, we might have something special on our hands right here, something special that we could watch. But I'm glad when I was reading the press release, see that he understands that, I'm jumping right into the deep end. I'm jumping right into a fire pit here, because it's going to be a night and day difference compared to what he's been doing all these years so far. And Super Formula, that's an extremely competitive championship, so he's not going to be facing, any slouches in that championship. Some of, the top drivers they have in the series, Sho Suboy, Kaku Ota. I'm sure we talked a lot about him on this show because he's been dovetailing a Super Formula program and also IMSA endurance races as well, and also recently testing IndyCar too, trying to get over here. And then Ayumu Iwaza, he was a Red Bull Junior driver. We saw him in Formula 2 as well. Tadasuke Makino, he was also in F2. And then Sasha Fenestras, he's back over in Super Formula after a stint in Formula E. So there are some really good drivers over there, and also believe have Zach O'Sullivan racing there as well. He had a stint in F2 before, things didn't really end well for him in that series due to funding and all of that. But there are some really good talent that Rovanperä will be able to test himself against. The thing that's really interesting to me is the timeline here. And like you're saying, Matt, he has a lot of different things to learn next year. He has to learn how to race an open wheel car. And yeah, he does have a little experience, test driving that Red Bull F1 car, but that's just testing and all of that. That's not really, it's not really like doing the actual real thing. So if I'm Toyota, I know they have these winter series going on, like across Asia, the Middle East, and I think also to an extent maybe Australia, New Zealand. If I'm Toyota, I'm putting Kalle Rovanperä in one of those series as soon as WRC is over. I want them to get him as much open wheel racing experience as they possibly can get before the season begins next year's Super Formula. They have plenty of time. I'm looking at next year's Super Formula calendar. The first race weekend doubleheader at Motegi is April 4th and 5th. So he has a lot of time to get some open wheel racing experience under his belt, and I think that will suit him extremely well. And there's a lot of great tracks across Japan. He'll be racing at Autopolis, Suzuka, Fuji, Motegi, and also Sugo as well. So there's going to be a lot for him to learn in 1 year since Cup of Golf right now. This Super Formula program is expected to be a 1 year thing, where we'll see him race in Super Formula, hopefully be competitive enough to prove to Toyota that he's deserving of an F2 seat in 2027. And who knows where things will go then. I know it's a lot of pressure on Rovanperä. He's going to have to basically come in as a rookie and compete for the championship. That seems like a tall order, but if Toyota believes that Rovanperä can be as good as they think he can in open wheel racing, I think that this very well could be worth the risk. Like we mentioned, he's 25 years old. I know that kind of old in a way to go to Formula One, but we said the same thing about Colton Herta, who left IndyCar, who's expected to be in a Formula 2 seat in 2026. I believe they're the same age. I believe Rovanperä and Herta are around the same age. So although tradition says that you have to basically be in your teens or early 20s to try to get into F1, but they're proving that the older guys can still get in there, although they're not really old. You're still young in your mid 20s. But it's nice to see some drivers, who are a little bit older still get a chance to try to do this. And I do wonder, in order for Toyota to give him the green light of this program, I wonder if Rovanperä got on a simulator and, it really blew them away, or that was like a private test somewhere that he did that we don't know about, that, he just completely shot Toyota. And they're like, yeah, we need to make the move and try to get this young Finnish racing driver on the road to Formula One. And for Rovanperä, I really hope it works out well for him, because I would think it would be a cool story to see someone switch from rally racing to open wheel and ultimately go to Formula One. I think it'll be a really fun story to follow, just like Colton Herta going from IndyCar to becoming a Cadillac test driver, and he'll be an F2 as well next year. So I think that we have a lot of great things to follow in motorsports in the 2026 and 2027. Yeah, so maybe we'll see Kalle Rovanperä shock us all and be competitive in his rookie year in Super Formula. That goes well, go to F2. If he does well in F2, then maybe, Toyota get him in Formula One, maybe with Haas, or as, been rumored, maybe we see Toyota branch off on its own, and we'll have the Toyota Gazoo Racing F1 team, because they have someone special right here in Kalle Rovanperä. It just needs to go according to plan. And if it doesn't work out for him, maybe we see him back in World Rally Championship someday. Or they also have the hypercar program. That could be another really great alternative, that Sebastian Ogier was going for. Matt, you already mentioned Ogier. Remember when he tried to make the switch to endurance racing, and although he is one of the greatest rally racers we've ever seen, his stint in sports car racing was very short and forgettable. He was not good at all. I remember looking at the sheets after those races, seeing where he was lap times wise, and he was one of the slowest drivers in the entire class. So that's something that did not work out well, but I hope it goes better for Rovanperä. And one last thing I wanted to add before I throw it back to you, Josh. Toyota have tried to move a driver, to the road to F1 before, and that's Ritamo Miata. He ended up, winning the championships in Super GT and Super Formula, and then Formula 2. It has not gone well at all for Ritamo. I thought he was going to be really special in F2, given what we saw from him in Japan, but it doesn't look like Formula One is going to be in the cards for Miata. We might see him go back to Japan and race in Super Formula again in the future. Maybe he'll continue being one of the top drivers over there. But the difference is, Miata, he had that open wheel racing experience from Japan, while Rovanperä, minus that Red Bull test, doesn't have any.
It's going to be a really difficult maneuver and crossover. Adam, however, is wishing Kalle Rovanperä the best in Super Formula 2026. Can't wait to see how he does coming into it as well. I think we all can. And I know our friend and colleague Jake Sanson is going to be commentating on that. I think he was very happy. I was looking back to some text messages he sent me as well. He's very happy that Kalle's going in, actually, because he gets to call some of that.
We'll have to make a new segment on the show next year, Kalle Watch, to see how he's getting on throughout the season. That shout, Kobe, from you there about going to do what was the Toyota Racing Series in Australia at the beginning of the year, mark that down. I think that's going to happen. I didn't even think about it until you mentioned it. If he goes down there and does Formula Regional Oceania or whatever it's called now, but it was the TRS before, that would be a great thing for him to go and do. Away from the prying eyes of all the general media, and go and have some races down there and just hone his racecraft.
Now, you get this, Matt, but for Americans, I don't know if you had it, but how about Cali text? Like teletext.
We're going to have it scrolling across the bottom of the show each week.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you have that over there? Did you have teletext over there, Kirby, as well? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. So you were spot on. I was American.
Okay.
I don't clue.
Basically, teletext was basically like the internet homepage, but for televisions in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, page 404 for the latest from the Premier League.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. Honestly, I remember, I love teletext. I'll send you some images coming later. And anybody watching, just Google teletext. So that's CFAX, yeah. So yeah, Google that and you'll see. It's fantastic. Right, moving on to our second story of the evening. So what's it?
Proper retro. Before talking about
retro. Yes, but I'll tell you what, I'll when Kobe's doing his bit, I'll download an image and put it as the virtual background just during hot.
Very good.
And I'll show you all. So, moving on to our second story of the evening. Justin Haley will not return to Spire Motorsports for the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season. Now, this comes as no surprise, with Haley seemingly being on the hot seat all season long after failing to find the same amount of success as teammates Carson Hocevar and Michael McDowell. Now, Haley has a long history with Spire, dating back to the 2019 season when he scored the organization's one and only Cup Series win in the weather-shortened Daytona Summer Race. Now, he ran part-time with them for a few years while running full-time in the Xfinity Series with Kalle Racing before later going full-time in Cup with Kalle. Now, in late 2024, Haley switched from Rick Ware Racing to Spire after overachieving in the RWR car to get a head start on 2025. Now, the 2025 season started off with lots of optimism surrounding Haley's number 17 as Spire decided to find more success with this particular car after not meeting expectations with Corey LaJoie behind the wheel. Now, entering the new season, Haley had two key members who won the 2014 Cup Series title with Kevin Harvick. Spire signed Ronnie Childers to be Haley's crew chief, and Childers brought car chief Roberts Cheddar Smith over from the Stuart Haas Racing to take on the same role at Spire. Now, after the first handful of races, Spire and Childers parted ways, with the team's competition director Ryan Sparks coming back to pit road as the interim crew chief. You might remember we talked about it earlier on in the year on this very show. But to make matters worse, Haley also lost his pit crew members to Hendrick Motorsports. According to Jordan Bianchi from The Athletic, Daniel Suarez is the leading candidate to drive the number 7 Chevrolet in 2026. Now, team co-owner Jeff Dickerson as well said that parting ways with Haley was a decision that was not taken lightly because they've watched this driver grow up since his teenage years and helped strengthen the organisation to what it is today. The graphic here courtesy of Spire Motorsports. We couldn't have done it without you, they say, Matt, but turns out they can do it without him in the future. So with Haley currently 31st in points, while his teammates are 21st and 23rd respectively, is Spire making the right call to move on from him, or is it unfair given the revolving door that has been the number 7 team's personnel?
Thanks for your time, but here's the door. More on that in NASCAR Hots and Nots related later on. Yeah, I think there was a lot of sort of low-hanging hype about Justin Haley when this all came together. And then we had the Rodney Childers thing, which you mentioned, and we talked about that at the beginning of the year, and it was going to be, this coming growing team, they're putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. And it's just been a bit flat. Carson Hocevar has really taken the headlines in this team throughout the year with some great driving and some scrapes that he's got himself into, but that's Carson, that's what he does. McDowell's been solid, had a good run at the Roval a couple of weeks ago. which you would expect from Michael McDowell. He's a great road course racer. But Justin Haley he's just kind of much like Daniel Suarez last couple of years at Trackhouse. He's just kind of been there and not done a lot with it. And now it sounds like Suarez is going to end up getting this ride, which is good for Suarez, but it's a shame for Haley. So what does kind of the future hold for Justin? Well, I kind of feel like he should become like a Justin Allgaier kind of guy and go to the Xfinity Series, O'Reilly Auto Parts Series next year, Grand National Series, and make a career there. Win a load of races if you can, win some championships. It would be great for him and colleague to tie it back together again, because that was where he kind of came through, as you mentioned, Josh, and had all the early success in that portion of his career. But this sort of stint with Spire, although promised much, has delivered very, very little, which is a shame for them, a shame for him. But sometimes these things just don't work out.
Yep, sadly, sometimes that is the very case as well, that they don't work out. And we hope that we see some news on that in the upcoming days. Now, moving over to IndyCar, Juncos Hollinger Racing has signed Rinus VeeKay for the 2026 NTT IndyCar season. Now, VeeKay will replace Connor Daly in JHR's driver lineup alongside the expected return of Stingray Robb. The 25-year-old Dutch driver spent the 2025 season with Dale Corn Racing and outperformed his equipment on numerous occasions. 2026 will be more like a homecoming for VeeKay, who reunites with his team co-owner Ricardo Juncos. VeeKay won the 2018 USF Pro 2000 Championship and finished runner-up in the 2019 Indy next season with Juncos. VeeKay said he's decided to sign with the team because they have momentum, high ambitions, and a clear vision of the future. Graphic courtesy of Juncos Hollinger Racing. I think it's a good signing, actually. I do. It's a bit of a logical step because, personally, I think this team is going well. So, Kobe, starting with you. Can VeeKay surprise us all again and outperform his equipment at his new team?
Yeah, I certainly think he can. And yeah, it's been an interesting last few weeks for Mr. Rinus VeeKay because we all thought that he was going to be going to the number 4 AJ Fort race in Chevrolet and replace David Malukas, who was signed by Team Penske. But it seems like there's been a shift in the IndyCar silly season as Kyle Collette, who was an Indy Next driver this last season. It looks like that he's now the leading candidate for that seat. And when that happened, we wondered where Rinus VeeKay would go, especially since it seems like he was doing extremely well over at Dale Coyne Racing. And then, I believe it was shortly after the finale at Nashville, he announced that he was leaving Dale Coyne Racing. And we thought, again, with this Penske affiliated team was going to be a great thing. And then, it turned out that it was not going to happen. And then we got the news, recently that he's going to be with Juncos Hollinger Racing. And like you said, Josh, it's good for VeeKay that he's basically going home. This is the team that helped him develop on the road to Indy before he ended up going to IndyCar with Ed Carpenter Racing. So he's familiar with Ricardo Juncos and the type of operation that he has. And, the team is obviously a lot different compared to what it was when VeeKay was last there, because it was just Ricardo on his own. Now he has Brad Hollinger, who's his business partner to make Juncos Hollinger Racing. And they also have a lot of very talented people on the personnel side as well. And if they, get the sponsorship in place and get the right people in the right places, maybe Juncos Hollinger Racing can surprise, a lot of people this season. And one of the things with Juncos Hollinger Racing, on the oval tracks, they look extremely well, especially with Connor Daly. And it's going to be interesting to see what's next for Connor Daly's future. This is a situation that he's unfortunately used to, throughout his IndyCar career, not having long stints at place and then constantly looking for a ride. I'm sure Connor will find something, maybe not full-time because those seats are about to run out. Maybe we'll see him at an Indy-only program. I know Ryan Reinbold recently announced that, well, not recently, but we've talked about it on our show in recent weeks that, Jack Harvey's going to be back with that team. And then the other driver last couple of years been Ryan Hunter-Reay. So I guess maybe Connor Daly will have to battle Ryan Hunter-Reay for a seat, at Ryan Reinbold. And I'm sure some other teams will be looking to add, a third seat as well. So maybe Connor might have to just focus on Indy only in 2026. But getting back to Rinus VeeKay, I think he'll be really happy with their oval program, given how fast they've been at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Maybe Rinus won't have to worry about being in the last row shootout like he was this year and won't have to be concerned about getting bumped from the field, and that's a plus. But I think the biggest surprise is going to be like, what can Rinus do for this team on the road and the street course? I think they got an oval program, looking really good, especially, we have a driver like Connor Daly's caliber showing what it can do. We've seen VeeKay go fast on the oval, so I'm not really concerned about that. But where does team struggle, with both Daly and Stingray Robb all throughout 2025 was on the road and the street courses. And we all know how good of a road and street course racer Rinus VeeKay is. If Rinus VeeKay can elevate, Juncos Hollinger Racing's road and street course program, I would not be surprised if he's able to do that. And maybe in 2027, when IndyCar Series is expected to be a lot more crazier than this current one is, maybe Rinus could put himself in line for driving for one of the top teams in IndyCar, maybe like an Arrow McLaren, who has seemingly confirmed for like the third time since the season ended that their driver lineup next year is exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be Pato, Christian Lundgaard, and also Nolan Siegel, with Nolan Siegel being the one under the most pressure next year. So maybe that could be a possible open seat for him. And who knows what the other, teams, the other top teams are going to look like. But I think that if Rinus can go in and overachieve again, like he did with Delcoin Racing, he could put himself in to drive for a top IndyCar team in 2027.
Is Rinus VeeKay too good to be seat hopping? I feel like he probably is. And this is yet another change for him, as we knew it was coming. I didn't really expect him to end up here if he'd said this at the start of the year, but this is where he's landed. And to your point, Kobe, yeah, I agree. He's going to be decent on the ovals. It's the road and street courses that will need improvement from a team which has been through the mire, hasn't it, over the last couple of years with the whole Canapino situation, Calamilot stuff. They had Roman Grosjean for a bit. That didn't work out. So they need someone that can bring them some stability. And to my original point, VeeKay needs to be somewhere where he can be stable. I'm not sure that was always going to be the case with Delcoin. So if this year goes well, and I'm sure that time will tell between the start of the season and the summer post the 500, see where they are, especially with the different IndyCar calendar. Of course, that was something to get used to, is having more races before the 500 over the next couple of years. It's going to be interesting to see where they are, and maybe then that will progress into something further, which will be good for all parties, because Juncos need a solid foundation, and VeeKay certainly needs that as well, because we know how talented he is once he's got some good equipment under him. So looking forward to this. Should be a decent little tie-up between JHR and Rinus VeeKay.
Just taking a look at the calendar, looking as well to when that pre-season testing was going to be, because we've already had some on the road course, haven't we? So coming through, Crystal, our newest member as well, just saying, Nolan Siegel holding on to his seat kind of seems like a surprise after some of his major mistakes last season. It's interesting to see a team give him grace and keep him in for another season. Well, McLaren have got bigger problems going on at the moment, but I do agree with you. It was a bit of a surprise. Or Haley didn't exactly live up to what Corey LaJoie did in the same car. That's another thing as well, going back to that NASCAR point that I know you've got as well, Matt, because you've just sent in a link as well to our chat.
Yeah, I just don't think Haley pushed that any further forward than where, Corey was, to Crystal's point. So, I don't know. Interested to see where he goes, and it looks like he won't be going back to car league in anytime soon, but they've yet to announce what they're doing next season. But it looks like that door looks like it might be shut on Justin Haley, to my point from before.
Oh yeah, Josh. And before we move on, wanted to share what Chris Rice, has said this morning on NASCAR, on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. These quotes provided from Toby Christie, Motorsports journalist. Chris Rice said, I quote, Justin is a part of our family, and if we find a spot, we would love to find a spot for Justin, but we've kind of made our bet in the truck series, and we know who our truck drivers are going to be and who they're going to be. And we've got some loose ends to tap in. If we can find a spot for Justin, we will definitely do that. And he also said that we love Justin. We appreciate Justin and what he's done for us, just like Blake Cook. We appreciate those guys. And sometimes, you're just full. So the Justin Haley news come out, kind of at an unfortunate time. Maybe if, Spire had, released this news earlier during Colic and Ram were looking for drivers for their truck series program, maybe they could have found a spot for Justin. But like Chris said in that quote, sometimes you're just full, and if things have happened maybe a little bit differently, Justin might be in a different situation for next year. But it's kind of late in the game now. We'll see if he's able to find a ride. And also wanted to touch on Crystal's point about Nolan Siegel as well. And we know when McLaren first brought on Nolan, it was made perfectly clear that they needed the funding, that Nolan and his father could bring to the team, because they really needed the funding in this situation. Even outside of the funding, a lot of people thought Nolan, was very talented and had a lot of upside in IndyCar, but so far he obviously hasn't lived up to the same expectations that Pato O'Ward have done, and also Christian Lundgaard have done in his first year with the team. And it's very interesting that the team has been a lot more patient with Nolan Siegel than they have some of the other drivers that they've employed over the years. So I wonder if that has any ties to anything to do with the funding or whatever. But but like I said earlier, guys, I think it's very interesting. It's been 3 times since the season's ended, and they basically had to reconfirm that Nolan Siegel is going to be in the seat next year. So I don't think that's a good sign for Nolan's future. And I would be really surprised if he's still the driver of that car 1 year from now, because he hasn't really made a significant ton of progress. I mean, in qualifying, I'll give him that. He's qualified a lot better. We've seen him, advance out of Q1 a few times and have put together some really good qualifying performances, but we need to see full execution throughout the race. We need to see him, get top 5s, get top 10s on a more consistent basis, rather than having Pato and Christian up in the top 5 and 10 while you're outside of the top 15 in some races outside of the top 20. So Nolan Siegel is probably the driver under the most pressure entering the 2026 IndyCar season, because there's a lot of drivers out there who'll be interested in that seat driving for McLaren. And like I said, one of the ones we were just talking about, Rinus VeeKay, I think he could potentially be a candidate for that seat if Nolan does not perform.
To just wrap up the Justin Haley thing, can I just roll one of my favorite lines from recent years into the conversation? For Justin Haley, the timing of this announcement could not have come at a worse time.
No, it really couldn't, could it? As well, that's quite shocking. So, moving on to another story, and linking it still with IndyCar, but throwing in a bit of World Endurance and Formula One legacy into it as well, because ex-Formula One driver Mick Schumacher has completed his first IndyCar test session on Monday at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. Schumacher tested the number 75 Honda for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, and according to Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com, the son of former Formula One legend Michael Schumacher, he was the 3rd fastest of 7 drivers who participated in the off-season test session. Dennis Hauger was fastest, followed by Alexander Rossi, and then Schumacher. The 26-year-old German driver spoke with the media attending the test session and told them that he's spoken to several IndyCar drivers in the last 3 years, which helped him conclude that racing in America might be a good career move for him. Although Schumacher is currently driving for Alpine in the FIA World Endurance Championship, he's been burning inside to get back into a single-seater, because that's where his true passion lies. Schumacher really enjoyed his first time driving in IndyCar and said if he decides he wants to be an IndyCar driver in 2026, he promises to fully commit to the series, including learning the ovals. He added that he wants to be in a place where he enjoys racing, and once again repeats that single-seaters are what he's always wanted to do. According to Kurt Calvin from IndyCar.com, RLL could have a spot in its 2026 IndyCar lineup if Schumacher decides he wants to pursue an IndyCar career. Schumacher told Calvin that they had days and weeks to figure out what opportunities are there for the future. The link to this article is in the video description below, and photo taken by Chris Jones from Penske Entertainment. Surprised it's not Prema, really, given his history with the team and how they brought him up throughout the ranks as well. But Kobe, start with you on this one. How encouraged are you by Mick's positive reaction to his first time driving an IndyCar?
Well, Josh, before I answer your question, I want to touch on the Prema point. Their IndyCar future is still uncertain at this point right now. So, I would actually be kind of concerned that Mick Schumacher was talking about going to Prema right now, because we don't even know if that team is going to have an IndyCar program in just a few months' time. When the IndyCar Series kick off the year on the streets of St. Pete, hopefully we'll see Prema. Want to see Callum Milot and Robert Schwartzman continue to compete in this series. Will be such a shame if we lose that team after just 1 year in the North American Racing Open Wheel Racing Championship. But getting back to Mick Schumacher, almost every single photo and video I saw Mick Schumacher, he had a large grin on his face. I think he had the time of his life, and it looks like he really enjoyed driving the IndyCar. And I'm hopeful that he'll enjoy this. That he enjoyed this so much that after taking some time to think about it and sleep on it, that he'll decide that yes, I wanted my time in Formula One to last longer than it did, and I wanted to get a second chance. But sometimes it's just not meant to be. And if he comes to IndyCar, that's basically going to be sealing the door shut to him ever going back to Formula One. But I think that might be a good thing for Mick, to carve his own path in IndyCar. We already know what his father's legacy was in Formula One, which is absolutely incredible. And Mick can come over to American IndyCar and be his own driver, and build his own legacy in America. I think it would be really good to have him in the IndyCar series. And if we get confirmation that he's going to be in IndyCar next year, we'll talk more about him on this show in the weeks and months ahead. But as you can see by all the media coverage and all the content IndyCar has been putting out on Mick Schumacher, that he's going to bring a lot of eyeballs to this series if RLL is able to get the deal done, and bring him into their driver lineup. I know the situation with Devlin DeFrancesco might be a little tricky. We don't exactly know what the details of Devlin's contract is. I know there have been rumors of a potential exit clause in his contract related to his lack of performance that could be exercised, or who knows, we've seen IndyCar court happen before, and maybe, this is a situation that might end up in a courtroom if they try to get rid of Devlin and add Mick in. But if I'm RLL, if I'm Honda, I'm doing absolutely everything I can to get Mick Schumacher in my IndyCar next year, because it's gonna bring more attention to the team. It's gonna bring more attention to the series, to all the sponsors. It would just be remarkable to have, like we said on the last show, we talked about Mick, to have the Schumacher name on the IndyCar grid as Schumacher competing in the Indianapolis 500. And I also love hearing Mick, talking about, saying that he's basically not going to do what Roman Grosjean did when he left Formula One. We know Grosjean come over his first year in IndyCar. He ran all the road and the street courses. And then, he was loving his time in IndyCar so much, he got very curious about the ovals after previously saying that he would never run an oval because of how dangerous it was. And then Grosjean started, having a good time on the ovals once he, started running on them. And Mick, said that he was, like say, Josh was going to fully commit to the IndyCar series if he decides this is where he wants his career to go. And, you have your road and street courses, which he's used to from, Europe, but the ovals completely foreign to him. And I'm happy to hear that he's open-minded about it, that he said he was willing to do an oval test in the future, and also just figure out this different discipline of racing, regardless of how dangerous this is. And also want to address some disappointing comments. It's been saying from some people in the F1 world and some of the fans over there. I know some people brought up comments that Michael Schumacher made, I believe, in the early 2000s. About he said some not so kind things about the IndyCar series and how he would basically never race on an oval because of how dangerous that is. And seeing comments, about Mick wanting to go to IndyCar from people, they were saying things like, "Why, after your father said that about the series, why would you want to go do this?" And then you had his uncle Ralph coming out and saying, like, if my son David wanted to race IndyCar, I would put a stop to it because of how dangerous this is and all of that. I just want to say, Mick Schumacher is a grown man. He can do whatever he wants with his racing career, and if he wants to come to IndyCar, he wants to race on an oval, let him do that and let him be happy, because he said at the end of the day, he just wanted to enjoy his racing. He loves single seaters. And if you heard anything from Mick Schumacher recently, the one thing that stands out the most, he keeps saying, I love single seaters because this is his passion. This is where he wants to be. But overall, I was really encouraged to see how happy he was to drive the IndyCar, and I was also encouraged by his lap times. I believe he was like 2/10 off of Dennis Hauger's time, and for someone who has never driven an IndyCar before, I think that's really cool because he was very close to Rossi's lap times as well, who's been an IndyCar veteran for a while now. And then Dennis Hauger, he had the one IndyCar test at Mid-Ohio. So he has a little bit of IndyCar experience, and then Schumacher having none to only be a couple of tenths off from the fastest time. Really impressive. And I really hope that RLL is going to be able to get this across the finish line and bring him to IndyCar full time in 2026, because I think we're going to see a lot more people tune into the series because of Mick Schumacher.
Yeah, not much more to add really, Kobe, to what the points you've touched on. I think Fox, IndyCar, Honda, Bobby Rahal, everyone needs to get around this and make this happen in a Bernie pinching IndyCar guys in the 90s to come to F1. Jack Villeneuve obviously is bringing to mind. This is not quite the same, obviously, but someone going the other way and making it work with, again, we're talking about Rovanperä at the top of the show. He's young enough. He's got plenty of time to go and do a good job. There was someone had mocked up, I saw on X, Twitter, a picture of Michael in the Ferrari crossing the yard of bricks, and there was the shot of Mick just slightly behind him, doing the same as if they were having a race down the front straight at IMS, which is a very cool picture. But for IndyCar to have the Schumacher name in their series full time, I think Mick would throw himself into it, properly, as you said about with the ovals, and he's mentioned that. So really good. I mean, can't be any worse than Devlin DiFrancesco has been in that third RLL car for the last couple of years. And what a surprise, Ralf Schumacher made a comment which everyone disagreed with. I'll just leave that there.
Absolutely, as it's now got a couple more comments coming through as well. RLL would probably benefit a lot in terms of bringing in Schumacher. It brings in as well. Yeah, Mick Joy, it's a huge win for IndyCar. I agree. Yeah, if it does bring Mick Joy in, is that going to be good in terms of a mentality that Formula One is door closed, let's go win the Indy 500? Because it's on the driver's bucket list, isn't it? Of the three you want to win is Monaco, Le Mans, and Indy. And Mick would have done all three. He would have raced all three as well.
Yeah, because he's been at Le Mans course this year with Alpine. So, yeah.
I think it works. Okay, let's send it back to you, Matt, for the latest from the Grid EPI update.
Another busy weekend for Grid Endurance Performance Index Racing. We will start at the Nordschleife in Germany at the Nürburgring, where the final NLS round of the season was run and won by Team Falcon. They've been dominant there this season. Dorian Boccolacci and Nico Menzel, the winners in the 4-hour race on Saturday. Menzel actually took part in the race in two cars and came first and second in the other Falcon Porsche. The Pro-Am race was won by Patrick Assenheimer and Fabio Scherer. And in Am, another win for the trio of Sack Nana, Christoph Brewer and Dieter Schmidtmann. NLS back in action in the spring, as always, after what has been a sensational year of racing, of course, headlined by that Max Verstappen win a couple of weeks ago. Photo courtesy of Frozen Speed. Let's move from Germany to Spain, where we had the last race of the season for the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup, and a gold category winner was actually in the overall winner as well on Sunday afternoon in a topsy-turvy race at the Circuit de Catalunya. Adam Smalley, Louis Pret and Dean McDonald were the victors for the Garage 59 McLaren, and they picked up the EPI bonus points for being a non-top category winner. So they were the winners in Gold Cup. The second car that finished the race was also a Gold Cup car. So the Pro race was won and finished third on the road by that Rover BMW, Augusto Farfus, Jesse Krohn and Raffaele Marciello. The overall championship was also won by BMW. That was Team WRT, Kelvin van der Linde, Hugo de Wilde and Charles Weerts, the overall champions in the Pro Cup. Back at Barcelona in the race, in Silver Cup, Leo Moncini, Sebastian Ergaard and Alex Arca won for the Trezor Orange team, another Audi. And in bronze, it was a win for Porsche, Loic Hartog, Antares Auer and Maurice Schuring winning there for Team Porsche. Also, the big weekend race in the Grid EPI and in sort of endurance racing in general was the Road Atlanta Petit Le Mans on Saturday. A race won, a second race in a row won by the Whelen Cadillac team. Jack Aitken, Earl Bamber and Frederick Vesti. It wasn't enough for them to take the championship, though. That was concluded by Porsche. Talked about Porsche last week, of course, on the show with their WEC put out. They've won another IMSA championship with Matt Campbell and Matt Jaminet. Stephen Thomas, Mikkel Jensen and Hunter McElroy were the winners in the LMP2 race. Wasn't quite enough for those guys to take the championship. It was a win in the championship for AO Racing and Rexy, Dane Cameron and PJ Hyatt, the LMP2 champions for the season. In GTD, the pro category was won on Saturday by BMW. Dan Harper, Max Hess and Connor De Filippi winning in the number 48 BMW. Corvette, though, snuck the championship just, with Alexander Sims and Antonio Garcia coming home in second in the race to claim the championship. And in GTD, it was a win for Ferrari, spearheaded by Alessandro Pierguidi out of the World Endurance Championship. He, Simon Mann and Lilo Wadu getting home to win the race. The championship was won and confirmed won at Indianapolis a few weeks ago, which we did mention on the show, by Phil Ellis, Russell Ward and the Winwood Racing team. So that's the 3 races from this weekend. Let's see how it's affected the scores. And we have Claxon, a lead change. Another one. Oliver Gray gets his second stint as the Grid EPI leader through 29 weeks of the season. Lawrence Vanfour was top of the championship. And an interesting one. Julian Andlauer was not well enough to compete the race, so Porsche decided to put Vanfour in both cars at the weekend. His third place would have been enough to keep him in the lead, but because he was in the other car with Nick Tandy, his normal ride, with Nick Tandy and Felipe Nasr, and they only finished 10th, that put him down the EPI order and put Oliver Gray and Jakob Schmiekowski back in front of him again. So Lawrence Vanfour slips back to third. Charles Witt's one of our GT World Challenge Europe champions there in 5th. Chris Lullum 7th. Max Verstappen's winning teammate from the Nürburgring a few weeks ago. He and his teammate Thierry Vermeulen were the Gold Cup champions in GT World Challenge Europe, so that confirms him in 7th position for the moment. And Jesse Krohn, a new entry to the top 10 this week after his win in that race at Barcelona. Kobe will scroll on to the top 50 to see where your favourite driver may or may not be. Well, I give you an extensive list of what's happening this weekend because it's busy. And our top 2 overall are in action. They are at Portimao for the finale of the European Le Mans Series. That race is on Saturday. So that could shape the weekend. It is also action from the Asian part of the world where GT World Challenge Asia is in Beijing on a brand new street track. Beijing street tracks have gone badly in the past. As a A1GP fan and anyone that knows about A1 Grand Prix in Beijing, they'll know about that. Let's hope this one goes a lot better. Super GT, we touched on Super GT as well tonight. They're in action at the weekend at Autopolis for their penultimate round of the championship. And it is the Indianapolis 8 Hour this weekend at the Brickyard as well. So plenty of action to come this weekend in Grid Endurance Performance Index Land, which will be week 30 of the season. And then next week after that, we get a break. There's no races on that final weekend of October in EPI land, so we'll touch on some other stats and storylines from the EPI this year in that week coming up at the end of the month. So busy weekend to come this week. Bring you some images and some reporting on that in the slot on the show next week. Almost up to an hour on the show. It's been a busy one, and Kobe has the rest of the headlines that we haven't been able to touch on yet so far.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. Manthey Racing will operate a 2-car program for the 2026 IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship Michelin Endurance Cup races. The German-based team will enter 1 Porsche 911 GT3R in each GT class, GTD Pro and GTD. In GTD Pro, we'll see the number 911 Grello Porsche seen on the screen, known for competing at the Nürburgring's Nordschleife circuit and the DTM Championship, debuting in IMSA's top GT category, while the number 912 Porsche will compete in GTD under the Manthey First Form name with driver Ryan Hartwood and Nicholas Rader. The team's managing director said to build on their experience of competing at the Nürburgring, the DTM, and the FIA World Endurance Championship starting up in IMSA program was the next logical step, photo courtesy of Porsche Motorsport. NTT IndyCar Series star Will Power is set to make his long-awaited sports car racing debut this weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. Power will join 75 Express and a Mercedes AMG GT3 car for the Intercontinental GT Challenges Indianapolis 8-hour endurance race. This will be an all-Australian driver lineup with Power joining countryman Kenny Habul and Repco Supercars Championship star Chaz Mostert, fresh off of the Bathurst 1000 and a beer. 2 years ago, Power was scheduled to drive for 75 Express in the Rolex 24 at Daytona, but he had to pull out at the last minute while his wife, Liz, was going through some major health challenges. Habul's team will move up from Pro-Am to the Pro class, with the goal being to secure the IGTC title for Habul, who is currently 6 points behind the championship leader, graphic courtesy of SRO. And if you were watching last Friday night's ARCA Menard Series West race at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway Bull Ring on Flow Racing, you might have noticed that Bill McAnally Racing was missing. And Bill McAnally Racing, they've been a staple of ARCA West for many years, so their absence was a surprise entering the race weekend in Sin City. However, in a statement, the team explained they decided to suspend the remainder of their 2025 ARCA West program to fully focus on the team's NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series program because Daniel Hemrick and Tyler Ankrum, they're currently in the round of 8. So BMR feels like it's best to give those two McAnally Hilgeman Racing Truck Series teams all of their resources during this important part of the year. And so despite missing the final 2 ARCA West races of 2025, they plan to return return to the series in 2026. Graphic courtesy of Bill McAnally Racing. Viking Motorsports have parted ways with Matt DiBenedetto for the remainder of the 2025 NASCAR Xfinity Series season. In 30 races this year, DiBenedetto has had one top 5 and one top 10 during the Talladega Spring Race, where he finished 5th with an average finish of 23.1 in his races. The team's general manager, Jeremy Lange, thanked DiBenedetto for his contributions and acknowledging his meaningful role in establishing the foundation of their Xfinity Series program. And as a result of this move, Craftsman Truck Series regular Connor Mosack will take over the number 99 Chevrolet for the final 3 races at Talladega, Martinsville, and Phoenix. Graphic courtesy of Viking Motorsports. 2025 MotoGP World Champion Marc Marquez ended up having surgery on his injured right shoulder blade. After all, Marquez was injured on the opening lap of the Indonesian Grand Prix after Marco Bezzecchi collided with him. The original plan was to let Marquez's injury healed naturally, but after a recent checkup, his medical team saw that the coracoid fracture and ligament damage were not showing signs of stabilization, so they decided to do the surgery, which was successful, as Mark is now back at home continuing his recovery process. Marquez was initially ruled out for the next 2 race weekends in Australia and Malaysia, but it's too soon to tell if the surgery will rule him out for the rest of the 2025 season. Photo courtesy of MotoGP. The Mercedes Formula One team confirmed that George Russell and Kimi Antonelli will return for the 2026 Formula One season. During the lead up to the summer break, their futures with the Silver Arrows seem to be in doubt, as Mercedes flirted with the possibility of signing Max Verstappen, given the exit clause in the 4-time Formula One World Champions contract and a potential buyout option. But Verstappen ultimately decided to stay with Red Bull in 2026, so that left Mercedes with its current drivers for next year. Team principal Toto Wolff said bringing Russell and Antonelli back was a matter of when, not if, because they wanted to take their time and handle the negotiations properly to make sure all sides were happy. Russell said he's proud to be continuing this journey with Mercedes, and Antonelli thanked the team for their continued support and faith in him despite some struggles throughout his rookie year in F1. Photo courtesy of Mercedes. And that's all of the headlines I have for y'all this week. Now I'll turn it over to Matt for everyone's favorite game. Pick a winner. We have a busy one tonight.
We do 3 pick a winner points to pick for on the show right now. There is the graphic, and the green numbers are becoming less and less because there's only 6 people now that can win the 2025 Pick a Winner Championship. Matt B, Kobe, myself, Tanner, and JT, and Alex Fleener as well. They are the final fast 6, you might say, for the 2025 Pick a Winner. You can get involved, of course you can, by using hashtag Pick a Winner across all of the Grid Network TV social media: Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Twitter, Outlook Express, whatever you fancy. Even the YouTube comments, of course, over the weekend. You can get your picks in. Anyway, AOL.com, whatever you want to use, to get involved with Pick a Winner this weekend. And we're going to start right now with, we talked about rallying at the top of the show. It's the penultimate round of the WRC season this weekend. It is the Central European Rally, which goes through 3 countries: Germany, Austria, and the Czech Republic. That's why it is not just one. It is the Central European Rally, the final Central European Rally, because it's off the calendar for next season. Tarmac event, autumn, could be rain, all sorts of slippery conditions, leaves on the road, all manner of things. And the man that is come back to try and win another championship, I think, is going to be the man that wins the rally this weekend and gets closer to that goal. Sebastian Ogier is my pick for the weekend at CER. Kobe?
Yeah, I'm going with that same Sebastian Ogier. His story this year has been amazing. You know, he looked to be coming back part-time again, and all of a sudden, despite running part-time, and the full-timers, keep tripping over themselves, he suddenly found himself in position to potentially win another championship as a part-timer. So he made the decision to go full-time later on in the season, and this very well may be another stepping stone to winning another World Rally Championship. So you can't go wrong with Sebastian Ogier.
I hate to pick against the Brit, Elfyn Evans, but I think Ogier is looking fairly good for these last couple of races. Quickly from Joe, who said nobody from the Grid Network on AOL Messenger was participating in Pick a Winner. That's a shame. Maybe they were on MSN Messenger instead. Other Pick a Winners to do right here, right now. Next up is MotoGP, because as Kobe said, Marc Marquez is going to be missing from the Phillip Island Australian Grand Prix this weekend. As what a 3 weeks of Australian motorsport. Bathurst last weekend, MotoGP this weekend, and Gold Coast next weekend for supercars. I mean, so the field is open. Who is going to do something in MotoGP for the next couple of races with no Marc Marquez to scoop up all the pick winner points and trophies? I don't know. This is, I mean, the most open we've had. I tell you what, it's not going to be my pick, but I'm going to say it on the show right now. Jack Miller is going to win the sprint race at home at Phillip Island, just for S&G. Kobe, who are you going with?
Yeah, that would be something if Jack Miller, is able to do that. But yeah, this is really difficult. Marc Marquez is always the easy pick, but I guess we need a MotoGP pick a winner. Wheel of Destiny to end this season, but I'll just go with his brother Alex Marquez. Depending on how qualifying go, I may change it. But for now, I'm gonna go into the weekend with Alex Marquez. Who you got, Josh?
You've got Bezzecchi, you've got Acosta, you've got Alex Marquez, you've got Aldeguer, and you've got Quartararo. And am I missing anybody? I think that's the 5, isn't it?
Probably.
Bagnaia, so that's making 6, but I don't know.
Depends which way the wind's blowing for Pecco Bagnaia.
Yeah, do you know, I'm going to stick my neck out and I'm going to say Marco Bezzecchi will take the sprint. I think that. But just quick, I'm very happy with myself because out of everybody on the NASCAR broadcast, I had faith. Joe said Joey Logano. JT said Joey Logano. I said Denny Hamlin, and he won it. So I was very, very happy with myself.
More on that in a minute. You've got up until the green flag of all of these races to get your pick in. So if you pick now, as Cody mentioned, you can change. I'll probably end up going for Bezzecchi as well. I've already got Alex Marquez locked in for Sepang in a couple of weeks because I feel like he's going to romp away there. And lastly to pick for tonight is the Formula One sprint race at COTA. Yes, we're back sprinting again in Formula One this weekend at the US Grand Prix down in Austin, Texas. Probably going to be a McLaren, you would feel, unless this Red Bull revival continues. And I think it might in the sprint race. I'm going to go with Max Verstappen to win on Saturday. Kobe, who you got?
I'm going to go with one of the McLarens. After things don't necessarily go his way to last Grand Prix, I think Oscar Piastri is going to get back on top and take the sprint race at COTA. Who you have, Josh?
See, I'm going the opposite direction. I'm going Lando Norris to take the sprint race as well because I think he needs to get a bit of mentality ahead of the weekend. And if he wins the sprint, he can start dominating the Grand Prix. So I think that we could see a bit of a challenge this weekend because the gloves are off now at McLaren. And this is a track which should suit them quite well. But are they going to shoot themselves in the foot because Red Bull are going to be right behind them? Ferrari and Mercedes will not turn up this weekend because Ferrari's tyres are going to be as bad as much use as a old chewing gum that's been stuck underneath the desk at school. And Mercedes, well, they have not got the speed for this circuit. So it's McLaren who should be out front with Max Verstappen trying to keep up to the back of them. It's going to be a very feisty weekend because, as we've always learned at COTA, expect the unexpected and anything can happen in the Lone Star State.
Absolutely right. 29 points still available for pick a winner. So if you have no picks on the leaderboard and start picking now and get all of them right, sorry, that you might still beat Josh because he's on 27. Adam is going with Lando. Sorry, Josh. Adam is going with Lando for the sprint at COTA. So we have 2 points available for COTA, the Grand Prix, of course, on Sunday, and the sprint. WRC and CER. MotoGP Phillip Island, that's another 2 points. And NASCAR, of course, on Sunday at Talladega. Adam is also going Ogier. He's going Pecco for the sprint. He's going Byron already for Talladega on the bounce back, and SVG finishes in the top 10. That would be good, wouldn't it? He was on for another one at the weekend, and it didn't happen. So get your picks in for all of those races with the hashtag pick a winner across all of the Grid Network TV social media channels. We wrap up the show as we always do with myself and Josh waffling on about what we thought was good and bad from the weekend. You've already mentioned it. Denny Hamlin, 60 wins. Congratulations.
Yeah, what a win. And a deserved win, I feel. He controlled that, didn't he, quite well. And he was always on the challenge. I mean, everybody was saying, oh, yeah, but, you know, he didn't need that many laps. No, but his pit stop strategy was good. He controlled quite the right stages of the race. And I really enjoyed it. It was a good day of action. But I feel for Ryan Blaney a lot.
Yeah, I only got to catch up with it last night after not obviously being on the call with it being a later start for us in the UK on Sunday. So yeah, Blaney puncher in the first stage, not good for him. Is he in a must-win situation or is he not? Depends who you talk to for the next couple of weeks, depending on how you look at the points. I think he is in a must-win, as is Logano, but we'll see. Two of the strongest tracks for Penske coming up over the next 2 weeks, of course, with Talladega and Martinsville. It's good to see Denny show some emotion and not sticking the finger at the crowd, although they obviously appreciated being a part of that at the end, and he was appreciative of them. So that was all good. I thought it was a decent race. We probably wouldn't have got obviously an exciting finish if the William Byron accident hadn't happened with Ty Dillon. But if you pause that race, what was that, 30 something laps to go? Larson was leading. He was probably going to win from that point, you would have thought, if it had gone green to the end, which is obviously a shame for me. But he didn't. So we'll see. Talladega should be good this weekend. Other hot things from the weekend. I'll do this on Kobe's behalf. All of Bathurst. It was just, I haven't seen it, but I've seen things because I'm obviously a long way behind. Chaz Mostert drinking a beer after he retired. Weather, the chances for rookie winners to come through and win. Crashes late in the day. And a new team winning the race and a new driver winning the race in Matt Payne and Penwright and Grove Racing, and Garth Tanley gets his 6th Bathurst 1000 win. The place does it every single time.
I love it. I love Bathurst. I'm hoping that next year we get to cover it, although this year we were on the Xfinity call at the same time. But it was fantastic. Another great race. And I'm really looking forward to Australia this weekend from MotoGP because, as you said, the party just keeps on going. Yeah. They move it down from Bathurst and straight to MotoGP land. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and then up to the Gold Coast next weekend for more supercars action on the beach. I think that if they keep doing this and I win the lottery, that's a 3-week trip for me, 100%.
Yeah.
If the calendar stays the
same. So good.
I think I'm out of hots.
Yeah, there wasn't that much, was there?
One other Bathurst-related hot was the kangaroo survived. If anyone saw the social media clip of the kangaroo being missed by that much by Kai Allen. I don't know if Adam's hot's hot. Is it hot that it was his last? It's not obviously what happened to Dale Senior. 25 years ago today, Dale Senior's last win makes us all feel very old.
Wow. We saw that car's gone out on exhibition, hasn't it? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. I think Adam, big hot Bathurst. I'm sure. I assumed he would say that. I think Adam, from what the sound of things, and again, I haven't seen. You might agree, may or may not agree with me. Best race we've had since 2014, and we were due a crazy one, and it sounded like it was indeed that. Evening, Mr. Owens. He's chimed in at the end of the show. Penske's are in a must-win unless any of the 5 ahead of them gets caught up in a mess this weekend, which the chances are high of that happening at the day.
Yeah. I'm very much gutted I can't do Talladega this weekend, but I'm leaving because I'm on America, and then at Martinsville I'm in Mexico, so I'm now not there until the final, which daunts me every year. But I'm very much relaxed. I'm leaving it in your capable hands with 35,000 viewers that are going to be tuning into you guys. So have a good show. I will be commentating on Formula One and then watching you guys at the end of the race on Talladega. But yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And Crystal said WCR with OJ, MotoGP, Bagnaia, F1 Sprint, Piastri, NASCAR, Blaney. Not going to be anyone. I think it could be Blaney. Could be on for a good one this weekend at Talladega. I want to throw in a World Superbike hot if I can.
Oh, okay. Because okay. I was bringing to this, but in a different way. But go on.
Hot for me is that for the first time since 2014, the championship's gone down to the final round of the year.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
Top Rack v Bulliger. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, it can't be decided on Saturday, can it? It has to be decided on Sunday because the 2-race format.
Still enough points on the Sunday available. What is he? 38 points, I think, is the gap.
Yeah, something like that.
They get behind Top Rack. I had a Superbike mentioned, but it wasn't hot.
Not.
It was a
the red flag.
No. We went from 22 points separating first to 7th pre-Vegas, says Matthews, to 65 points separating second to 8th. Can flip so easily, especially at Talladega. 100%. 100% it's big this weekend. World Superbike not. Two parts to this coin. It's on the same weekend as MotoGP and the finale of BSB, and there's F1 and there's NASCAR, and there's just a stupid weekend again this weekend. What did I say earlier on? It seems like it's the last weekend before the world ends and everyone has to get their championships away. But my other World Superbike not was, God, it's going to be boring next year in World Superbike. The last couple of years of World Superbike have been brilliant, but you look at the race at the weekend. Top Rack, especially the second race to some degree, Bulllegger and Top Rack are in another league compared to everybody else. So with Top Rack leaving and going to MotoGP, you may as well give Bulllegger the championship for next year now.
Yeah, Bulllegger's got it, and no one can catch up. I thought Jonathan Rea might get his podium, but that's the first time in his career.
Let's hope he gets one at RF this weekend on his way out the door.
Do you know that's the only time that Jonathan Rea hasn't scored a podium at Estoril for the weekend? He's had a podium every single time year. Been there. Yeah, that surprised me when Greg Haynes said it. Right, now, for viewers who wanted to know, this was teletext.
Very good. Love
back
that.
In the day. Do you want me to just bend down? Here you go. I'll go down. And this was teletext back in the day. So you used to go on
rather than cars.
Yeah, so look, you can have music, what's on, live quizzes, roads and travel work, regional sports, everything, weather, television guide. It was fantastic, but I'm not wanting to have a thinking with our American audience and put them off here. But when I went and Googled what the first image was, I must apologize because it seems on Wikipedia. It's about the World Trade Center attacks. Which shocked me. I was like, that's not the best example of what teletext should be used for. But apparently, it is because teletext that day, I get digging into it, it was the most times it was logged into in one day.
Huh.
So I would think Princess Diana, wouldn't you, in 1997?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
But no, there you go.
I was going to say both for good reason, but not really.
Yes, I'll come back up and swap back.
That's a blast from the past. And there was a good game on Channel 4 at CFAX called Bamboozle, which we always used to play on Sunday afternoon.
I remember the Sky games that you can play. What was it? The B one. Do you know that's still available if you have a Sky box?
It is. Oh, yeah.
Playing it earlier. I might try and play that actually during one of the broadcasts and show people what it was all about with a split screen. If you've got a red flag.
Yeah. You're also chiming in saying Conor Zilic was one of the most heroic second place finishes I've ever seen at the weekend. 18 straight top fives is crazy. I'm not convinced he isn't the best stock car driver I've ever seen.
Zilic was good. It was good. Yeah. Do you know, I think I've really enjoyed Xfinity this year, being in the comms box for a couple of races, and I've enjoyed the Cups a lot more this year. And I think it's safe to say that NASCAR's completely won me over with how good it is at the moment. It's completely won me over. And I'm just astonished because I'm sure you get this. You sit in the commentary box sometimes and it's like, it's getting later at night, you're getting tired, and you're thinking, wow, this lasts hours. But the last couple of races, 3 hours have gone by like a click. Yeah. It's like we get to the end of stage one and look over and it goes, that was 45 minutes. It does not seem like it. And then stage two goes in the same amount of time. And then you're thinking, right, well, stage three is just double that and it's fine. I'm really enjoying it. So, yeah, good fun. I want to do a special hot, if I can.
Okay, go on.
Lee Diffie doing the Bathurst 1000 for NBC from the Speedway at Las Vegas in the commentary box. He did. Yeah, he was commentating on the race in Las Vegas with the guys who were down in Australia. That's something I found out at the time. Because he was saying during the Xfinity races, somebody came in our YouTube chat and said it. And during the Xfinity race, he was commentating and the cars were going around there and there. So, yeah, new experience for him.
Excellent. Cool. Good stuff. One final thing for me. This is really me-centric, but I'm going to say it anyway. We mentioned Top Rack. I've been keeping a log of all the races I watch, as many people will know, over the last, almost 4 years I've been doing that on this Excel spreadsheet now. Max Verstappen has led the drivers' list for a very, very long time. Not anymore. Top Rack is in front by 59 to 58. We've got a battle on, folks, at the top of the watch log between Max Verstappen and Top Rack Razgatlioglu.
And that's going to be
3 more for Top Rack and perhaps 2 for Max this weekend. But then, of course, there's still more great Formula 1 races to come, so Max might creep back up again.
And Top Rack's not going to really win next year, is he?
Top Rack's not going to win. Well, who knows?
Well, yeah, we say that. Although, I just want to put something up with our last segment here. There's been articles going around online saying about how Liberty Media want to remove the satellite teams from MotoGP and make them all factory teams. I'd like to point out, I said that story 3 months ago because it's not Liberty Media doing it. It's the rules. They're on about, Liberty Media want to get rid of satellite teams for 2027 and everyone have the same bike. Yeah, they're going to have the same bike. As I said it's a brand new engine regulation. It's a brand new formula that's coming to MotoGP. Every bike on the grid will have to be the same. So for the first year in 2027, everybody's going to have the latest bike. But what will happen is they'll start the year with all the same machinery, and throughout the year, the satellite teams won't get the aero updates that the main teams will get. And then starting for the next year, it'll cycle again. So they'll have the same bike for 2 years, but they'll get the aero upgrades for the next season. So it's just going to restart the cycle. So for 2027, there will be no satellite bikes. They'll all have to be factory spec because it's a brand new rule. I hate this misinformation that's going around by people saying, Liberty are changing this. No, it's the rules. Learn about it. Don't go at Liberty. Liberty are doing some wonderful things with MotoGP right now. Just have faith in them because they've brought Formula 1 up to where it needs to be. And by God, does bike racing need to be up there.
Easier to write a story for a clickbaity headline than do your own research and figure out what's actually happening. And we'll end the show on that.
Yes, watch the Grid Network because we have the facts and we know what we're on about. Just drove me at the wall when I saw that. And I thought, I'll save it for that one. Okay, I'll tell you what, where's my cap? I got it here. Let me put on my Goodyear cap ready for the weekend and talk about what's coming up. There we go. Right. Also, I need to say how hot is the new NASCAR game. I admit I'm not a huge gamer, but it looks good. It sounds and feels great. It feels like I'm a kid again with these Thunder 2003-2004 games. I have not got it yet, but my YouTube ad revenue money comes in about 4 days' time, and I will be ordering it, and I will be playing it because it looks amazing. Have you got it? Are you getting it? Are you getting the PS5?
No. My allegiance is in an Xbox form. Although we can crossplay. I will be getting it, but I don't know when.
Good. That's crossplay. Let's do it. Okay, so taking a look at our upcoming schedule, you can stay tuned for the Grid Live pre-race previewing NASCAR at Talladega and Formula 1 at the Circuit of the Americas. Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up is 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Talladega Super Speedway. Monday, Grid Encore is at 7 p.m. Eastern, recapping the Xfinity and trucks at Talladega. Please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach 1,700 subscribers. We're now very much inching closer to our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. And you can hit the bell icon to get notifications so you'll always know when we go on the air. And you can follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You can join our latest ones as well with Colin, Mark, Michelle, Robin, David, Matthew, and our newest Patreon supporter who's been on the show tonight with Crystal. Hello to you as well, listening in. You invest each month in the Grid Network, and we encourage you to join these fine folks, help us keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can afford to send our team to the track more often and continue growing our media outlet. The link to that is all in the video description below. And if you want to make a one-time donation, you click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, and invest as much as you want, and consider buying a specific on their personality cup of coffee, and they will thank you on the air. For Kobe Lambeth, where is he? There he is. And Matt White from the Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.